Hi guys, Liam from ZenYogaHealth and liamkbyrne.com here. Today's little post about caffeine. Are you struggling with a caffeine addiction? If so, you've come to the right place. I might have the exact solution for you, one that's worked for me. So if this is you, please just enjoy, listen, and learn something that's going to change your life today, or might do anyway. If you are struggling with caffeine addiction, or you just love coffee but you're kind of worried that maybe it's not the healthiest thing for you, what can you do? How can you overcome your addiction to caffeine, or what can you replace it with? So this is my personal story. I have, ever since I discovered true, real good coffee, which was fairly late in life for me, would have been about 21, 22, from visiting Spain as an adult, I just fell in love with it, and the love affair only got worse and worse and worse, particularly when I started to work as a computer programmer, and I felt like I needed coffee just to get me through the day in order to get my work done, keep me sharp and so on, which I don't know if it helped that much. I was never that good, but anyway, I was up to maybe 10 or 12 a day. When I first tried to go cold turkey or beat a caffeine addiction, a serious caffeine addiction, it was murder, it was hell. And that's when I realized just how deep and serious my addiction was at the time. It's kind of the only thing I've ever been seriously addicted to in that way, and it was hellish. It was hellish. The week-long headache, the mood swings, my god. And I just went cold turkey because that's often how I like to do things. So I've done it a whole bunch of times since then. That was years ago. That would have been 15, 18 years ago. And I keep going back to it. I kept going back to coffee, because no matter how long and how good I would feel each and every time I gave it up, there's nothing quite like that hit that from any other beverage that I had found up until just recently that would make me feel that way. So here's the thing, in latter years, rather than just, I used to get let me put it clearly, the main symptoms I used to get when I would drink that much coffee were the jitters. I would start to shake and jitter, maybe sweat a little bit, and I'd get heart palpitations as well. So I didn't like any of that stuff. And I used to drink it before presentations, to stay sharp, and then I'd find in the presentation I'd be twitching and shaking. But that's bad enough. Those things aren't nice. But of late, let's say in the last, I don't know, what would it be, 7-8 years or so, I found that drinking coffee made me feel particularly good. Coffee with cream and sugar, I still would, I guess, feel euphoric, like taking some kind of crazy amphetamine. It makes me love to talk. I'm so enthusiastic about everything. Everything the world looks terrific. It's like there's an inner glow at everything I see. I look around and the colors are more vivid. The sky is bluer. Everyone seems cool and amazing and awesome. But like with anything that affects you so intensely, the crash, the follow-on crash, the subsequent payback was equally extreme. So I found that rather than just getting the jitters or sweating a little bit or whatever it is that used to happen to me from caffeine in the old days, now I would start feeling anxious. And even, it took a while to realize this because I'm a very optimistic and happy person by nature, I began to feel depression, which is a real strange one for me, and it took a little while to connect those two things together. If I had gotten up to maybe 6 or 7 good coffees a day, then the next day, or even in the middle of the day or after the last couple of coffees, I'd begin to feel a real physical anxiety right there in the chest, physical anxiety. And then maybe the following day I'd wake up with this feeling of impending doom, fear, misery, wondering what the point of life is. This is just from caffeine. So this makes it, or made it, more important to find an alternative. So I gave it up a number of times again, always went back to it because it feels so good. And I think, as we all experience as we get older, you develop allergies to things, and you give it up, and then a tiny amount of it brings on the symptoms quite noticeably. So I decided I would need to find an alternative. It happened actually when I tried intermittent fasting for a good old while, 6 months or so, and I was waking up and just drinking black coffee, which made me feel fantastic. The combination of drinking coffees in the morning until 12 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon and not eating, I felt amazing. But as much as I hoped that I could avoid the symptoms with only 2 coffees a day, really it just began to creep back in and make me feel terrible. So this is when I came across, I'd read up on a few things, nothing sounded convincing to me, dandelion tea and this kind of stuff, which I haven't tried, to be honest. Must give it a try one day. But for whatever reason, I decided to try cacao, pure raw cacao, as distinct from cocoa. So cocoa, well, I'm going to need to, look up the finer distinctions of the two. Usually when it's sold as cocoa, it's got a few maybe milk products or maybe sugar in it. Cacao is just the raw product itself. So I got some good quality organic raw cacao, and I started making a drink with it, basically. So I need a little sweetness in mind, so I put some stevia in, maybe some soy milk or soy cream, and just stir it up with the raw cacao and have that in the morning to go with my well, it meant I was no longer intermittent fasting, so I had to abandon that. I needed something to get up early in the morning, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, something to get me going, particularly in the winter months. And I realized that this is pretty good. It wakes me up, not in the same intense way that coffee does, but still wakes me up, and it has other benefits, such as the high I think cacao, I'd have to look these things up now. I think it's got a lot of zinc and maybe potassium, I'm not sure, but a few other nice things that come along with the cacao, as it's a food product versus drinking coffee and caffeine. Now here's the thing, before I jumped head first into it, drinking several cacaos a day, particularly this raw kind, I read up on it, and the reason that you can get a nice wake up effect from cacao is a quality or a component of it called theobromine, and this gives you that same wake up effect. Now I read numerous testimonies online of people having the same symptoms from overconsumption of theobromine that I get from caffeine. So I'm not saying that cacao is necessarily superior or better in any way than coffee and caffeine. They have their advantages, that's for sure, but for me they don't work. So you'd want to test it out yourself. For me it's been a terrific alternative, just amazing. I drink it all the time now, I love it. So far I haven't had any of the symptoms that I would get from overconsumption of caffeine, or at this point now for me almost any kind of consumption of good quality coffee. Maybe an instant coffee I might get away with, but who likes that anyway? This doesn't taste good. So that's my big tip, basically. If you're looking for a good alternative to caffeine and you're not finding that, herbal teas don't do it for me at all. It's just apples and oranges. Coffee, caffeine versus a weak, watery herbal tea. You cannot substitute one with the other, at least not for me anyway. Maybe you can. And regular tea, with milk and sugar or whatever it is, stevia and soy milk, which would be my preference, just doesn't quite do it for me. But I've been using cacao now for months. Maybe it's what would it be? 3 months, maybe 4 months, and I absolutely love it. Now this is the thing, it was one day, 1 or 2 days I felt I needed a coffee, and I found that it really, despite it being good quality, just did not taste or feel or have the effect, that amazing effect that I thought it was going to have on other occasions when I've given up caffeine for a while and then slipped back in and had a cup of coffee. It's like a revelation. It's like Christmas time in a cup. But this time it's almost like it doesn't taste good. It no longer appeals to me, and I kind of wished that I had had the cacao instead, because the cacao is a substantial drink. You feel like you're getting something, nutrients from it. It's feeding you versus the empty calories that you get from caffeine and coffee. So there you go. If you found this video helpful, then please do like. It does help the channel. Share it with anyone you know who might be struggling with a caffeine addiction, and this might be a good eye-opener for them. Subscribe to the channel if you like getting information like this. I also do yoga videos and Pilates videos, and take a look at the links down below. I'm not sure what will be down there because it changes from time to time, but you might find some interesting stuff related to back pain, or where you might get a good quality cacao. There might not be a link on that though, so just go ahead and take a look. Thanks so much for listening, guys, and I hope you are all going to have a great day, and I will talk to you all again soon.